I want you to picture a scene in your head for a second. It's exactly 3:17 a.m. You're standing inside this massive, completely dark office building. All the lights are off. The city outside is completely silent. It's kind of eerie, right? Just totally quiet and empty. Well, this was the entire world for Ethan. He was a night security guard. Every single night, he walked alone through this giant corporate structure, and he was carrying absolutely nothing with him except a flashlight and a simple, unassuming notebook. Now, if you asked anyone who knew he worked there what he was doing, they'd just say, oh, he's doing his job, he's protecting the property. And sure, at 3:17 a.m., surrounded by empty roads and a silent city, that flashlight was cutting through the dark corridors. He checked the locks, did his rounds, the whole shebang. Most people looked right past him. They thought his life was totally defined by this dark, silent routine. But man, they were entirely wrong about what he was actually guarding. So what was he protecting? Well, he was actually protecting a dream. A dream that pretty much everyone else, constrained by a lack of money, delayed plans, or just really tough life circumstances, had already completely given up on. See, Ethan grew up in a small town where people just didn't expect extraordinary things from ordinary families. But he had this deep-seated desire to learn. As a kid, he devoured books and documentaries. He was constantly dreaming of a better future. But as we all know, potential doesn't mean much without opportunity. And Ethan's dream, it was on life support, hidden away in the dark of his night shifts. To really understand how he ended up here, we gotta look back for a second. Ethan's parents worked incredibly hard. His dad drove delivery trucks. His mom worked these grueling shifts at a laundry service. But no matter what, the money always seemed to disappear way faster than it came in. So when high school graduation rolled around, the reality hit him hard. There were zero funds for university. His scholarships fell through, and his plans basically just collapsed. Feeling totally trapped, he took this night security job in the city. He kept telling himself, hey, it's just a temporary fix, just a few months. But 1 year turned into 2, and 2 years turned into 3. He was stuck, and that vibrant dream of his was slowly fading into the background. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast in Ethan's life. During the day, what we can call the visible day, this building was packed with executives, managers, entrepreneurs, people just radiating confidence and purpose. But Ethan, he lived in the invisible night, empty hallways, locked doors, this really heavy, painful loneliness. He basically became completely invisible. People literally looked right through him. And the absolute peak of this pain happened when a successful old school friend visited the building after hours. The guy was looking sharp, full of confidence, and he casually asks Ethan, so, you're still doing security work? The disappointment in his tone was crushing. Ethan couldn't even sleep that night because, deep down, he was so disappointed in himself too. But then something happened. A really quiet catalyst that changed literally everything. During one of those super lonely shifts, Ethan finds an abandoned, mostly empty notebook just sitting there in a conference room. And for whatever reason, he didn't throw it in the trash. He kept it. And believe it or not, that simple, blank notebook sparked the turning point of his entire life. At first, he just used it to jot down wandering thoughts, his goals, his dreams, questions he had about the world. But then he started filling those blank pages with actual hard knowledge, notes from books, business concepts, communication skills, leadership principles. And this new habit, it really started to compound. Between his security rounds, he'd just study. It started small, maybe just 30 minutes of reading in the quiet. Then it grew to an hour. Pretty soon, he's doing 3 hours of deep study every single night. Months are passing by. He fills that first notebook, then a second one, and a third. Nobody knew, nobody noticed at all. But right there, while the entire city was sleeping, Ethan was systematically, quietly rebuilding himself from the ground up. It's just a perfect example of the incredible power of invisible work compounding over time. But of course, progress is rarely a straight line, right? Just as he's building all this amazing momentum, life hits him harder than ever before. His father became seriously ill, medical bills absolutely exploded. The financial pressure was just crushing. So Ethan had to take on extra shifts. We're talking 12 hours, 14 hours, sometimes 16-hour shifts. Exhaustion was his brand new normal, and sleep was this rare luxury. One night, he's sitting all alone in the security office, just staring at his notebook, and the weight of his dreams just felt way too heavy. The easy option was staring him right in the face. Just accept an average, limited life. Just focus on surviving. He was literally right on the edge of quitting his dream completely. So the crucial point is what happens in that exact moment of despair. As Ethan is sitting there, totally exhausted, ready to just accept defeat, he flips through one of his older notebooks. And his eyes land on this sentence he had written down and completely forgotten. It said, "Temporary pain should never create permanent surrender." He just sat there staring at those words for a long, long time. In the dead silence of that security office, that specific sentence anchored him. He quietly closed the notebook, stood up, and went right back to work. His dream survived that night. And from that night forward, he wasn't just surviving anymore, he was accelerating. Over the next few years, he systematically rebuilt his skill set. Boom! Ironclad discipline, advanced problem solving, unstoppable reading habits, better communication, time management, and this really deep, unshakable confidence. Now, he wasn't getting dramatically better overnight, obviously, but every single month he was getting slightly sharper. It wasn't quite enough for the world to notice immediately, but it was absolutely enough to completely alter the trajectory of his future. And eventually, the world does notice. One evening, a building manager happens to see Ethan taking his break. But Ethan wasn't doing what most people do. Instead of just mindlessly scrolling through social media, Ethan was deep into his books and his notebooks. The manager was kind of curious, so they struck up a conversation, and then another one, and another one. It very quickly dawned on this manager that this night guard actually possessed way more knowledge and pure discipline than a lot of the office employees working upstairs during the day. The only difference between them was opportunity. Let's move to and see how this builds toward an ultimate turning point. By year 5, a junior administrative position actually opens up inside the company. The manager pulls Ethan aside and encourages him to apply. Ethan's first reaction? He literally laughed out loud. He thought it was totally impossible. I mean, he had no university degree, no networking connections, absolutely zero advantages, just his stack of notebooks and years of relentless self-education. It was completely terrifying for him, but he took the leap and applied anyway. And as he's sitting in that interview, something amazing happens. The kinds of questions that used to intimidate him, they actually felt entirely manageable. Why? Because he hadn't just prepared for an interview, he had prepared for his life. And yeah, he got the job. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the duality of his success. Yes, getting that administrative role was a massive breakthrough, and it led to a fantastic financial transformation. Promotions, way more responsibility, a much higher income. But honestly, the real victory, the thing that truly mattered, was his internal transformation. That insecure, invisible night guard was totally gone. And in his place was this professional with deep self-belief, high capability, and unshakable self-respect. He had built this solid foundation of confidence during those silent nights that absolutely no one could ever take away from him. And the story comes full circle so beautifully. Many years later, Ethan, who is now a highly successful professional, finds himself visiting that exact same building late at night. The hallways look exactly the same, the cameras are the same, but as he's walking through the lobby, he spots a young security guard sitting all alone at the front desk, and the kid just looks tired. discouraged, totally lost. Ethan instantly recognized that expression because he used to wear it every single night. So he walks up to the young man, strikes up a chat, and before leaving, he hands him something incredibly simple, a blank notebook. The young guard looked super confused, right? But Ethan just smiled and left him with this incredible piece of parting advice. Never underestimate what you can become while nobody is paying attention. And wow, that right there is the core takeaway of this entire explainer. Success doesn't suddenly start when the big opportunity finally arrives. It starts way earlier. It begins in those invisible, quiet, lonely moments. Because the person you choose to become privately ultimately determines the life you get to live publicly. Ethan transformed because he absolutely refused to waste his ordinary, invisible days. Which brings us to the most important question of this explainer, and I want you to really think about this. What will you build when nobody is watching? Look, maybe your current situation isn't where you want to be right now. Maybe your progress feels agonizingly slow, and it feels like literally nobody is noticing your effort. Keep learning anyway. Keep growing. Keep going. The work nobody sees creates results nobody can ignore. If Ethan's journey resonated with you today, let me know down in the comments. I want you to commit to it and type, "I will keep going." Because your current chapter is not your final chapter. Keep building in the dark, and I'll see you in the next explainer.